Hello and welcome to another update video about Ethereum. So yeah, Ethereum continues to just move sideways. Quite boring price action at the moment. I mentioned in the last video yesterday that it's very much possible that Ether is just gonna move sideways or move up a little bit to extend this B wave here, to touch the trend line, test the trend line, and then we'll see what happens. There are two ways of how this trend line can be drawn, either from this top, which would then lead to this trend line, or from the lower top. Yeah, so you've got two trend lines. One is being reached right now, but let's give it a little bit of space. The overall idea is that this is just corrective price action. There's definitely not impulsive, what we see here. And therefore, I consider this simply as the B wave, okay? Which ideally then results in a C wave to the downside. The forecast hasn't changed, and also my perspective on this chart hasn't changed at all. Let me just shift this briefly. So, I mean, the overall structure here on the ETH chart is pretty much unchanged. 1 second, just need to shift it. Okay, so the idea is obviously that a wave 1 topped here on the 9th of December. And then this is our ABC structure right now, and we're coming down in this C wave. And that's the main scenario. In the C wave, we're dealing with a 5-wave pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the wave 3 is unfolding as an A, B, C structure. And that's because of the probably the situation that it's an ending diagonal. Okay, it's not impulsive. You see that. You know, it's getting corrections where it shouldn't get some, and that's always a warning that it's an ending diagonal. And because it's moving in a C wave, right, the wave C of this main wave 2, okay, after this wave 1 topped, early in December, this wave 2 correction is obviously ideally an ABC structure. So the C wave can be a diagonal pattern, and it would be an ending diagonal. And these structures are, well, 5-wave patterns, but the subwave structures are corrective. So you would have to assume that the current 3rd wave, for example, is an ABC structure. And the structure that we see there since, or from the lows from a few days ago, as I mentioned yesterday already, it looks like a corrective structure. So what does that mean? That means ideally the price stays below the trend line, and okay, even if it breaks above the trend line, it might increase the chances of an upside breakout, but really we need to see the wave 2 top taken out. That's at $2,385. That level needs to be taken out to really invalidate the idea of an ending diagonal to the downside. Even though I have to say, if we get close to the wave 2 high, then this B wave would be a little bit too high to be reliable anyway. So ideally we are not going to extend much longer here, but yeah, further sideways correction is possible. And until we take that high out, really, nothing changes on this chart. So I still see the white scenario as more likely. The yellow count is let's first for a second talk about the support levels for the white scenario. Now I will be able to give you a target for wave C of 3 once the wave B of 3 has likely topped. Probably not yet the case. I would need to see at the very least the $2,270 level taken out, broken to the downside. But the relevant support levels that we are dealing with here are 2,236, 2,191 and 2,047. They might still move a little bit, but that is sort of the first main support area here for the white wave count. And then, okay, if 2,047 doesn't hold, we still have the main green support area just below it, but I'm unsure if the price will even get there. Okay, that's how it's going at the moment. The reluctance of coming down. Yeah, and you know, there is a more bullish direct breakout count. We talked about that. That's the yellow one, but it doesn't look promising at all at the moment. As I said, price action here is very corrective. In the yellow count, we'd like to see a more aggressive move up because it would be a 3rd wave. And I already mentioned it's only my alternative. It will become less likely below 2,236 and will be invalidated below 2,186. And it's not the preferred one. It's less likely. It's not unlikely, but it's less likely than the white structure. Even though I have to say that even with the white structure, obviously we have to prepare for frequent wave count changes, as this is a diagonal and the subwaves are corrective. So that just means, in simple terms, it's going to change a lot, the subwave structures. Doesn't mean the assumption on the chart changes, but the smallest degree, wave structures basically change. That's just one of the characteristics of corrective patterns. There isn't really much more to add. I mentioned all the relevant resistance levels. I mean, obviously the third wave or the yellow wave count will be confirmed once we get a 5-wave break above the wave 1 high here at 2446. Again, I don't see it as unlikely, but as less likely, because on the way down here in this correction, the ideal Fibonacci levels for the wave 2 correction haven't even been reached. And also the move to the upside so far, it would only be possible really as a very strange 1-2-1-2 setup, which is a structure that, the proportions don't really fit here for that structure. And even if we call it a diagonal pattern, it has a lot to prove, because we don't trust diagonals either until they show us some more evidence. So yeah, there are some issues with those structures. That's my update about Ether. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.